JMMB Bank, right? Welcome back to Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Hema, Ramkissoon, and this is the Morning Brew, and we're entering the world of finance. And don't forget, you can pick up your copy of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian today, always still the supplement of the #1 business paper in the country. And today's head story, IMF mission chief to TNT, government policies are not growth friendly. Well, joining us on the set at this time, the CEO and Managing Director, we have Mr. Nigel Romano and Devati Mooleedhar. She is a GM and Business Banking and Capital Markets attached to IBL. But in case you haven't heard the big news, IBL is no longer IBL Bank. They've moved to JMMB, and that is JMMB Bank. And we're moving to see, what does this move mean for the financial sector? What does it mean for the financial sector of Trinidad and Tobago? Can we expect new products? Can we expect new services? And is it a change in their business model? Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Now, Mr. Romano, let's start with conversation with you. What led to the decision for the transition?
Well, IBL Bank this year will actually be 18 years old on June the 8th. It was started on June the 8th, 1998. In 2004, there was a joint venture formed with the JMMB group out of Jamaica. And in 2013, JMMB took over 100% of IBL Bank. What we are doing now is putting the name on the hustings, if you will. And the reason we are doing that is that we believe the JMMB Bank has a very unique value proposition. That value proposition is based on a foundation of an unconditional love. Love for our team members, for our clients, and of course for our shareholders.
Now, since this transition started, and I guess since 2014, can we expect any major changes, or is it simply a name change we're looking at?
The changes have been ongoing since 2004, and they accelerated in 2013. I joined last year, and the reason I joined, I was attracted by the vision of love. We are changing the way we interact with our clients. We are changing the way we are committed to our clients, and we are, in essence, bringing back relationship to banking.
Ms. Mooleedhar, it's time of a recessionary period, and banking and finance, normally people either love you or hate you at this time. That's the way it goes. Yep. What are some of the measures being done or being taken by the bank at this time to be more user-friendly and to be more compassionate? And can banks be more compassionate?
Definitely, we can be more compassionate. And what we at JMMB Bank is doing is that we are meeting with our clients, both personal banking and business banking, because all of us will be affected by what is happening in the country now. We all have to make adjustments. But as we have said before, JMMB Bank is here to support the clients. So we go out to the clients, we meet with them, we discuss where they are now, what is taking place, what it is that they need to look at within their business, so their cash flows, their receivables. How are we going to support you? We are going to support you by being there for you. So we recognize that your receivables may be late, in that, there are some institutions that are not paying on time. You have receivables from government that's been long outstanding. So what we look at is how best we can extend the tenure of your facilities, how best we could support you so that you will be able to continue in business at a certain level.
Now, when you talk about banking and products during the time of a recession, people remember the time of the 1980s with mortgage rates, people losing their home, people losing their cars, houses being abandoned. And those are the cases, the extreme cases. You've had a situation, especially in the energy sector, where hundreds of persons have lost their jobs. The Minister of Finance and the Minister of Labour said that 5,000 persons within the last couple of months may have lost their jobs. I know that she said that she's going to attempt moral suasion because you cannot interfere and intervene in the operations of private institutions, especially the banking sector. How is she going to persuade you, and what are the options? Are you going to adjust people's mortgage rates? What are the options available to a person that will come and tell you, I cannot afford this now?
So, and I could say to you, Hema, I lived through the 1980s. So I recognize and I understand and empathize with what is happening with the clients out there. Moral persuasion, as far as I'm concerned, is not necessary. We understand that people are going to feel the hardship. They have invested in mortgages, they've taken out houses, they're expected to be employed for the rest of their employable age, and now they're hit with not having a job. So what we do is we meet with them, we look at what savings they have, how long can they continue to service the debt, can they continue to service the debt? If not, then what we have to look for is how do we structure it. So maybe instead of a full installment, you pay interest only, or you pay a part of an installment. But JMMB Bank is not in the business of selling houses, of dislocating families. Our motto actually is to keep families together. We are family, so we treat you like family. In good times we're there, and in bad times we're definitely there to support you. So some of the things that we look at is how best can we manage to support you over the time. As you said, you've lost your job, but there may be other things that you could look at doing that you may not even have thought about. But in sitting and talking with us, there are things that will come out that probably you can do. You may have a skill that you haven't even recognized. You may have been, a hobby. You may be doing something. So you may have been employed in the energy sector, but you had a hobby of painting or plumbing or something else that you could actually be using now to become a professional with.
Now, Mr. Romano, people tend to demonize the banks. You have the concepts of the bank spreads, and people believe that no matter what, the banks will make money. What is the role of JMMB Bank? What is the role of the financial sector at the time of a recession to even buffer the fallouts of the shrinking economic times we're facing?
Now, banks have a dual responsibility. We have a responsibility to our depositors and to our shareholders. To our depositors to keep their money safe and to invest that money prudently. Because the last thing we want is to have to go to the central bank or to taxpayers' funds to bail us out. We take that responsibility very seriously. And in a recession, then we need to beef up our advisory capacity. As Davey said, to work even closer with our clients and help them to understand the cash flow dynamics. One of the things and one of the questions we ask at this time is, are you committed to your business or to your lifestyle? You can't be committed to both. So maybe it's time to sell the X5. Maybe it's time to downsize on the personal level and recommit to your business and put your shoulder to the wheel. Because even at this time, there are opportunities for the smart and the hardworking. And that's where we want to work very closely with our clients.
S&P recently gave the downgrade. What is that? What are the implications for your bank in particular and for the economy?
There are implications in terms of the interest rate, the lending rate, the rate at which Trinidad and Tobago can borrow. The good news is that our fiscal situation is still very solid. I think there has been some concern about, and Moody's mentioned it, fiscal execution capacity. We need to look at that. We need to focus on how the government executes its policy decisions. And we would be there to help and advise. So there is not a direct impact on the bank, on JMMB Bank or the banking sector, but there is potentially, and we can see an uptick in the cost at which we will have to borrow as a country.
And you read that in some business news, days after the country's credit rating was downgraded by 2 international rating agencies, the local banking industry is also suffering a similar fate. There's word that the credit rating agency Standard & Poor's has given the country's a 5 in its banking industry risk assessment and an economic risk score of 6. What does that mean to the average person listening, 5 and 6? Does it mean that it's more risky to put my money in the bank?
Definitely not.
Yeah, I'm one of those. I just bank in the bank.
Our banking sector has gone through the 80s, and I think that was the last hiccup, if you will, when we had to restructure 3 banks. But since then, this banking sector has been solid. There has been never any concern about the central bank or the government having to intervene in the banks. And we have and the regulator has always tried to protect the banks from other institutions which may not be as properly regulated. So the banks are in very good shape. And at this time, we will need to work even more closely with our clients. As Davy said, we are not in the business of selling people's property.
Now, in terms of young investors and entrepreneurs at this time, the banks have routinely been accused of not being very user-friendly at a time of recession. So we talk about the current existing clientele. One, are persons approaching you to take the economic risk, and are the banks meeting them halfway with this risk? Because young entrepreneurs will say the banks would want up to your blood type and an arm and a limb to assist young entrepreneurs who may not have the trust funds and who may not have the networking and the backing of big business.
And yes, we have heard that on numerous occasions. But the bank is here to support all of our customers, all of our clients, both those that are now beginning their business and those that have been in business. What we really look for in those that are beginning their business is the business plan that they have gone through. Have they really gone into the depth that is required to ensure that they understand the business that they're getting into? How difficult is it to get into this business? Is there a lot of capital required? If you start a business, is it easy for you to have somebody else jumping into the same market? Will you not become, instead of when you were looking at it from the point of view of you being probably one or two in that industry, you will probably now be able to have 10 people coming in. Do you know who your suppliers are? Will your suppliers be there for you when things get a little bit rough? Are you able to collect your receivables on time? So those are the kinds of things that we look for. And in doing the due diligence, we try to assist you in coming up with that kind of information. So if you don't have it, we work with you to do it. But we must caution that for new business, the capital investment that is being made by the individual is extremely important to us, because it then says what the support is there for that company. Should you have, within the first 2 years, the inability to collect your cash flows on time? So the capital is there to support you. So yes, we probably ask for a limb and a foot, because sometimes we don't really sit with you to work out and to work through. But that is the difference that JMMB Bank is bringing. We will be sitting with both the new entrepreneurs and existing clients to ensure that we understand their business and they understand their business.
Mr. Romano, since 2004, you first started this immediate talks with JMMB when it was IBL. In 2014, we had the full-fledged discussion about the transformation. Has your profit margins been affected? Has business operations been affected? And the big question, will there be any staff layoffs?
Definitely not in JMMB Bank. We have been delivering on our promises. We are committed to our team members, and we are in fact in growth mode. And I want to touch on a point that Davy made. As a young entrepreneur, you need the best advice possible, because you're getting into risky ventures. Do you have the skill? You may be an excellent plumber, but do you understand cash flows? Do you understand how to deal with your suppliers? And in situations like that, it may be quite advisable that you get family and friends to support you. Then the bank can join. But what we're looking for is commitment and track record. Very, very important. I remember a long time ago, a manager of mine telling me, go across the road and borrow $500. And it was a very difficult experience. At first I told him, I don't need to borrow. But the experience of doing it and the relationship that I built with that financial institution